Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces, where our beautiful center is thriving, albeit from a Zoom distance, and where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. My name is Bob Greer. I'm your board president and your practitioner in service today, and I have a few announcements. First off, our weekly Spiritual Circle discussion group continues to be on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Each week we read and discuss a different article from that month's Science of Mind magazine. The discussions we have is insightful, lively, and fun. Call the office or look in our Thursday newsletter for Zoom information on how to join in. As a reminder, our bookstore is open by appointment only. Just call the office Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday during 10 to 2, I believe. Anyway, call on those days and set up an appointment. It's not open just randomly just yet. So we began our noon Zoom with the Rev on Tuesdays, and we'll be doing this again from noon to 1 each Tuesday, so we can connect and catch up with each other. It's great fun. Just call the office and they'll tell you how to get in on this. All right, our fabulous and talented practitioner, Teresa Valenzuela, is facilitating an Association for Global New Thought Season for Nonviolence. It's a weekly discussion and meditation via Zoom through April 4th from 1 to 2 p.m. And you're welcome to just jump in and join anytime you have available. And there is still time to add your name as a nominee for the Board of Trustees position. We are growing beautifully and look forward to partnering with you to expand our presence in this community. Just please reach out to either Reverend Bonnie or Faith Brown if you are interested in being of service. And so speaking of the board, here's I'll switch hats, and this is a summary of our last Sunday's meeting. We are excitingly working on our new website, and it's newly designed, and it should be out just maybe this week, first of next week. I think you're going to be really impressed. It looks really nice, and as we keep going forward, it'll have more and more great information. You'll be able to just have a one-stop place to find out anything you need. The floors, we hired a contractor and redid all the tile floors in the family room and all the offices, cleaned them, sealed them, polished them, and the place looks great. Big thank you to Karen Boyer for heading up this project, and we plan to have this same company come back on every 6 months or so and do another cleaning and just to keep it up to snuff. And also, at the same time, the same company replaced the last of the missing ceiling tiles we have, and those have all been in the sanctuary, and all of that is looking great, which, by the way, a lot of you that haven't been here in a while might not remember that we have brand new carpet in here that most of you haven't even seen yet. So whenever we get back to having live services, in-person services again, I think you'll be impressed with how nice our sanctuary has been transformed. We're real grateful for that. And on that subject, we're starting to look at when we might start to have in-person meetings again and what that might look like, and as a transition back into that. And the board is discussing it, and we'll continue to be discussing it next month. But we'd love to have any input from any of you that have any questions, concerns, thoughts, comments, anything that you might have in regards to what it might look like for us to reopen again. We'd love to hear from you. So please just call the office and talk to Kathy, or you can reach out to Reverend Bonnie and talk to her. For those of you that have been using PayPal or bill pay from your bank to make donations to us, we've just added another new method. It's called Zelle, Z-E-L-L-E. Many of the banks out there support this, and it's an electronic transfer. The great thing about it is there's no fees on either end, and if you want to look into that, when you go to your bank at the bottom or look at transfers, if it says Zelle, then you just click on that link, and then to set it up for us, all you need to do is just use our email, and that links to us, which is CSL Las Cruces at csl.org, and then it should pop up. Right now it's saying First Church of Religious Science of Las Cruces, which is our official name, but I'm trying to get them to change it over to CSL Las Cruces to make it a little bit easier to understand. And on that same note, we're so grateful for your continued support and all the ties that we've been getting throughout this time when we haven't been meeting, and we are we're doing fine and we're getting by, and we continue to believe in the concept of prosperity, and so as a result of that, one of the things that we do is we tithe 10% of everything that we bring in, and so this month 10% of all your tithes and offering are being tied to the Las Cruces Gospel Rescue Mission, which is the only shelter in Las Cruces that offers Christian guidance, provides emergency food and lodging services 24 hours a day, uses no taxpayer dollars, and seeks to reassimilate the less fortunate into the productive society. And lastly, as your practitioner on service today, I want to remind you that practitioners are available to pray with you over the phone. Just call the office to find out how to get in touch with us. And then also we have a prayer request button on our website, which you can fill out a form for a prayer treatment request, and know that those are confidential. They go straight to one of our practitioners. And then we meet every Tuesday with other members of the New Thought community here, other practitioners and ministers from the local New Thought community, and we do prayer treatments on those. So it's our pleasure to offer you that service. All right, at this time, it's time for song, silence, and prayer.
In this moment, I am love. Love is this moment. Love, love, love. This moment is what I am. In this moment, I am truth. Truth is this moment. Truth, truth, truth. This moment is what I am. In this moment, I am still. Still is this moment. Still, still, still. This moment is what I am.
This is just opening into this moment, knowing that power and presence, that divine intelligence that is in and through all things is right here, right now. And I recognize that I am one with that. I embrace that truth. And as I know that for myself, I know that for each and every person on this planet, that we are all divinely connected, and we are connected to Source at all time. And I just open and embrace that. And I just simply know that all is good. Everything is blessed. I bless this day. I bless this service. And I say, and so it is. All right. For today's reading, it's from the Science of Mind. This is on page 37 under The Way It Works. Should probably put these back on. And it says, therefore, our belief sets the limits to our determination of a principle which, of itself, is without limit. It is ready to fill anything because it is infinite. So, it is not a question of willingness nor of its ability. It is entirely a question of our own receptivity. That we must go the way of law is a fundamental tenet of this science, because nature obeys as we first obey it, and our obedience to it as we accept as our acceptance of it. How much can we believe? As much as we can believe will be done unto us. How much can one demonstrate? Just what one can believe. How much can we see? How much can we accept? How much we can find in our own consciousness that is no longer repudiated from our own denials. Wherever that is, that much we can have. And so it is.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So many windows without any doors. I have so much, but still I want more. So many mirrors, but still I can't see that simple reflection looking back at me. There's a voice inside, and it's telling me, fulfill your promises. You can live your magic. You can live your magic. Rise above your circumstance. You can live your magic. You can live your magic. I feel like I need more strength than I've got, but I'm just an expert on what I am not. So many choices, still I can't choose. How can I win when I'm too afraid to lose? There's a voice inside, and it's telling me, fulfill your promises. You can live your magic. You can live the magic. Rise above your circumstance. You can live the magic. You can live your magic. It's always one step forward and 2 steps back. When you're running from who you're meant to become. Fulfill your promises. You can live your magic. You can live your magic. Rise above your circumstance. You can live the magic. You can live your magic. Fulfill can live your magic. You can live your magic.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at the center in Las Cruces, and as usual, it's my pleasure to speak with you today. So I'm wondering if anyone has realized that they're running around chasing after an empty red can instead of recognizing all of the potential and possibilities and good that are all around, strewn at your feet, moving in and through you, and just showing up in your life. If you don't know what I mean by that empty red can, I would suggest you go back and watch Lillian Pilot's talk from last week, March 14th. Over the last several months, we've been talking about how it works, how spirit works in our lives, how these principles support us in our lives, and we've been looking at how we can manifest our good as we move through this journey that we call life. And we've mentioned a few times that idea of learning how to co-create and manifest things like princes, palaces, and parking lots. And I've said, I think that's all fine and good when we see how principle works in that way. The challenge, though, arises when we've moved through our journey far enough and we've evolved in our spiritual practice enough that all of a sudden, what we expect to show up looks very different than how we expected it. Let me use that parking space as an example. Just a way to show you how this can work. Suppose you are working on manifesting that perfect parking place and you picture it right up next to the front door you pull in with ease. And as you arrive to the place that you want this parking place, you start driving around, and the only parking place is way out in another part of the parking lot. And so you're thinking, well, it's not up close. I wasn't able to manifest the parking lot that I wanted. It doesn't look the way I expected it to. Well, my question would be, had you also been praying for, treating for the ability to lose weight? Maybe the perfect parking space for you is farther away from the front door, so you get all those extra steps to and from the building. Or, as you were walking from that parking space to the building, did you happen to run into somebody, a good friend that absolutely had needed to speak to you? Or was there really no real reason that you could see for why that space showed up way out on the other end of the lot as opposed to the front door? The real question that I have is, how do we respond when what it is that we have treated for, what it is we're wanting to manifest in our life, shows up differently than what we expected? In the Science of Mind text on page 306, Ernest Holmes says this: "What we demonstrate today, tomorrow, and the next day is not as important as the tendency which our thought is taking, the dominant attitude of our mind. If every day things are a little better, a little happier, a little more harmonious, a little more health-giving and joyous, if each day we are expressing more life, we are going in the right direction." I thought that was key. This idea that we might not get exactly what we're trying to manifest, but if the tendency in our life is moving to a more happiness, feeling better, having greater health and joy in our lives, then the tendency of our life is moving in the right direction and we are on track. At the beginning of 2020, I had an idea, a picture in mind of what my life was looking like as it was moving forward. And of course, I had a picture of what was happening here at the center and how we were moving forward. And then, as we all know, in March, we had to recalibrate our picture for what is happening at the center and how our Sunday celebrations looked. And then, in August, when my son died, I had to recalibrate my whole life. I had to think differently about what it was going to look like as I grew older. My identity as a mother totally shifts and changed. Everything about what I was picturing for my life had to totally transition and how it looked in my mind. What I did learn, though, is that love didn't die when the objects of my love, the people that I loved, have died. That I have been awash in love. It's been pouring into me and through me and over me in such amazing amounts. I realized that love shifted as to how it looks in my life, but love did not die. If I had closed myself off to that full potentiality and possibility of love, if I had said, the only way I'm going to experience love is if it comes through my son, these two little doggies of mine, my dear friend and mentor, Reverend Terry, and my dear friend and mentor, Reverend Sam, if I had said those were the only places I could experience love, then I probably would have crumbled and died. Because love is synonymous with life, and love is synonymous with God, that very essence of life within us. And so it may look different, but staying open to possibilities, staying open to love in all of the different places it could show up from, I truly believe is what has kept me alive. As Lillian so aptly pointed out last week, we may be chasing after an empty red can, in this case, trying to get love from something that's not there, that's gone. Maybe we're trying to get our good out of this empty can. Well, our good may look different. It has been scattered at our feet. It completely surrounds us and is in our hearts. It just looks different than what we had expected. So once again, my question then is, how do we recognize that good that's all around us? How do we stay open to possibilities? How do we see that which is right in front of us? Because it might be so brand new of a possibility, we don't even recognize that it is a possibility. How do we stay open to those possibilities? Our teaching, and most of the New Thought teachings, are rooted in a philosophy that was all about physical healing, how to bring about a greater physical healing in our lives. And I believe that the process for getting physical healing and healing in other ways in our lives is a similar process. It's all how it works. And in this book, Mind Over Medicine, which we are reading for our practitioner class right now, she says something that I found helped me a lot. She said, "Yet before you even begin this journey, let's begin with the humble acknowledgement that you are not in control of this journey. This is a curious paradox. You are an empowered patient, and I would say you are an empowered person in your life." She says, taking your power back and doing what you can to make your body ripe for miracles, and I would say make your whole life ripe for miracles, and you are not in control of how this journey will go and what the outcome will be. She said, the simple act of offering your journey to your inner pilot light, or to God, the divine, the universe, sets the stage for allowing yourself to enter a flow state that can carry you on this journey rather than requiring you to swim upstream. This is not a passive act or a way of giving up. This practice of surrendering to a spiritual source invokes a mysterious process that you'll have to experience for yourself. Surrendering to a force beyond your small self is a numinous, ineffable experience of humbly asking to be guided to whatever will support you in the best on your journey. So that really spoke to this question that I'm asking about. It's that curious paradox. We teach and we know that we can co-create with Spirit, and at the same time as we set up our lives to be in that place of being ripe for miracles, we also don't have total control of what's going to show up along the journey. So it's like asking what is mine to do. Again, staying open to possibilities helps us to position ourselves for optimum health, wealth, and happiness. And then we surrender our life using the tools that we have to stay open to and in tune with Spirit, that inner pilot light, God, as we move and continue through this journey. The first Sunday of this month, I mentioned 7 tools that I believe we have that help us to stay open to possibilities. We explored the first 3, so now let's explore the last 4. Contemplation, meditation, visioning or listening, and treatment and affirmative prayer. So in regard to contemplation, a good portion of my morning quiet time and practice is spent sitting there with my cup of coffee, looking at my fish tank and just watching the fish and letting thoughts and ideas percolate in my mind. I might have a topic that I want to contemplate, an idea, an issue, a challenge, but I just sit there and allow thoughts to just float through my mind. I have my journal handy, and I'll write down thoughts as they come through as well. This is a time for me of just being as opposed to doing. Mark Nepo, in 7,000 Ways to Listen, the other book I've been reading a lot from here lately, tells the story in here about 2 women that were skiing across a frozen lake when they came across a moose. And this moose had fallen through the water. He said it was clear the moose couldn't get out and they alone couldn't pull it out. The temperature was dropping because night was coming on. So they decided to stay the night with the moose. And he says even though the moose resisted, they covered it with their tent, settled in to shine their small lights on its face and on the edge of the broken ice to keep the ice from freezing into shards that would cut the moose. And then in the morning, they were able to go get help and get the moose up out of the water and back to land. He used this analogy as a metaphor. He said, this is a powerful metaphor for how to listen to and be with those who have fallen through. He doesn't say through what. But what for me this spoke to is it's a perfect metaphor for how to be with someone who's grieving. He said, you stay close and you keep them warm, resisting the urge to prematurely solve the situation. If nothing can be done, sit with them and withstand the urge to abandon them who seem stuck. Offer your tent and stay till the way out presents itself, not forcing a rescue. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful. That idea of staying present with someone. We can move into that silent, contemplative state and just be present. Let thoughts move through. They might have been thinking about what they'd do in the morning and how they would get out. But in that moment, there was no need to try and do a premature rescue. Just sitting and contemplating options and how things could go was all that was necessary. In the Unity magazine that I spoke from last week, Jay Shetty said, in order to go 3 steps forward, you have to go 3 steps deep. And I liked that as well. Before you take that action of those 3 steps forward, it's important to take the time to contemplate and go 3 steps deep inward and just settle into the situation. Just be with the situation. Be with another, be with your friend, be with yourself. Another word that we could use for this is just rest in the moment. We know through science that stress hormones are so physically detrimental to our bodies when we stay in a hyper state of stress for constant hours throughout a day with our doing, or our fight or flight gets kicked in because of stuff that's going on around us or in our mind. And there were 2 places this week as I was putting this talk together that spoke to me about rest and the importance of rest. One was in the Mind Over Medicine book I've read from, and the other was out of the Spirituality and Health magazine for this month. There's an entire article in here called The Rest Story. Great article. But one of the things that stood out to me in this article is that they have done studies all around the world to look at communities where people have more longevity in their life and where people tend to report they are happier than other parts of the world. And what she pointed out in this article is that those places that are the highest on that scale for being the most longevity for life and the happiest are places that honor and respect and incorporate rest into their lives. Either they have a nap time, a siesta throughout the day, or they take one day a week to rest and not work or do anything other than just be with spirit, be in contemplation. So as we contemplate, we take that time to rest our body. The mind isn't wrestling or resisting or trying to solve. We're letting the mind relax and just let ideas float through. We are staying open to ideas and thoughts, but we're not wrestling in our mind either. It's just relaxed as it's contemplating. The visual that came to me with this had to do with a yo-yo, and I don't know if any of you ever played with yo-yos. I wasn't very good at it, but my brother was great at it. And I remember watching him do what he called sleeping dog, I think. He could do this, and then he'd do something where the yo-yo would stay down here, still spinning, but not moving, and then he'd pop his hand and the yo-yo would go back up. To me, it's that sleeping dog state where there's still stuff going on in our mind, but we're at rest before we jerk whatever into action and move forward. Now, you may notice that as I've gone through these 7 different things, and we still have some more to do, that they are tools that can be used interchangeably, they can intertwine with each other, they can be combined with each other. So as you move into contemplation, you can also go back to that first tool of questioning and take the time to really contemplate some of the questions that pop into your mind and seek those answers in your contemplation time. Questions like, if there was a solution within every problem, what might the solution be? What if I really do know the answer? What would it look like? What if there's a different story than the one I've been telling myself? What might that story be? So as you take the time to rest and contemplate, the next tool is to also rest the mind, which is called meditation. We then stop all the floating of thoughts as much as possible and just move into silence in the mind as well as in the body. Now, meditation is one of those places where there's been a lot of study done in science here of late. And so, and they've come up with all of these health benefits for meditation. But before I dive into that, I want to, because it is Women's History Month, share with you about this woman, and her name is Candace Pert. She's a neuroscientist, pharmacologist, and researcher. And according to the author of Mind Over Medicine, she deserves the credit for much of our scientific understanding of what we now call the mind-body connection. She has been deemed the mother of psychoneuroimmunology. She authored over 250 research papers that revolutionized our understanding of how our thoughts, beliefs, and feelings translate into molecules of emotion, is what she called them, that tie the mind, consciousness, and emotions to the physical body. Now, she quotes some of what she wrote, and it's way over my head in terms of vocabulary, so if you want to read it, great. But the summary of what this author says is the field of psychoneuroimmunology is now an established science discipline offering a grounded link between the spiritual realm of consciousness and the scientific realms of neuroscience and medicine, due in large part to Candace Pert's contributions to this field. So I just wanted to honor her because the work that she's done supports what we've been teaching with that scientific evidence of how it impacts on a physical level. Now, this author put that in here right before she moves into talking about meditation. And she lists all of the scientific proven benefits to meditating. All forms of meditation, to some degree, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, decrease stress-related cortisol, reduce respiration and heart rate, reduce the metabolic rate, increase blood flow to the brain, strengthen the immune system, lead to a state of relaxation, and activate the neuro changes that lead to bliss brain. She continues, meditation also reduces pain, work stress, anxiety, and depression, promotes cardiovascular health, improves cognitive function, lowers blood pressure, reduces alcohol abuse, improves longevity, promotes healthy weight, reduces tension headaches, relieves asthma, controls blood sugar in diabetic patients, alleviates PMS, reduces chronic pain, improves the immune function, and raises one's quality of life. Wow. I thought, with all of that meditation can do, given the potentiality that using meditation as one of your tools could bring into your life, imagine what it would be like if everyone started practicing and using this tool. Since another way to stay open to possibilities is to make our life ripe for miracles, our body ripe for miracles, resting and reducing our stress hormones through meditation and contemplation are two excellent ways to shift into a more ripe life for those miracles to show up. Some have said over the years that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. And yet, when we in the New Thought movement today think about quieting our mind through meditation, we're trying to quiet it without a lot of things coming through. But we do have a new tool that we use that's been brought into our New Thought circles that is used for actually the intention of listening to Spirit or God. And that tool combines some of the things I've talked about already into a deeper form of listening, and we call it visioning. And as I was putting this together, I was reading this month's Science of Mind magazine and found in the very back of it an article called The Power of Our Visions by Jeffrey Ryan on page 101. And in here he was talking about exactly what I had already put on my page, and I like the way he said it better. He said, visioning, developed by Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith of the Agape International Spiritual Center, is based on the premise that there is an infinite intelligence with a more expansive idea of our lives than we have with our limited perspectives and experiences. And it is ever available to us, and through this visioning process, we are opening ourselves up to that higher vision. Because there's so much more in this article, I don't need to go into it in more depth. If you don't have this month's Science of Mind magazine, call the office. You can come get one here. The article is excellent. Basically, the idea is that with intention, we move into a meditative state, and then we ask questions, that tool number 1, and we contemplate for the answers, that tool number 4. And as we do this, we are opening ourselves to that greater vision that Spirit has that is outside of whatever little boxes we might be in the moment. So in that meditative state, we ask a series of questions. And it's important to note that this is not a brainstorming session. This is a different process that we do in visioning. So if you have a lot of ideas already percolating in your mind, it's a good idea to write them all down before you do a visioning, set those aside, and then you're opening to more than what you've just brainstormed. The first question we ask is, what is Spirit's highest vision for whatever the situation is you want greater understanding of? It can be related to relationships, your job, what's going on here at the center, whatever's going on in your life that you want to have a more expanded vision of, you ask that question. What is Spirit's highest vision for this situation? The second question, what must I embrace to support that vision? And again, you take time to contemplate the answer. The next question, what must I release to support that vision? And then, what must I become to support that vision? And the last question, what else does spirit or my higher self, or as the author of Mind Over Medicine called our inner pilot light, what does that inner pilot light want me to know? What else does it want me to know in regard to this vision? Each one of those questions, there's plenty of time to just contemplate and see what might come through. Once you're complete, then we close with an affirmative prayer to support the vision that we've just seen. So there's an old saying that goes, I'll believe it when I see it. And in New Thought, with all these teachings and with these tools that I've been talking about, you might be able to understand now why it is we say, I will see it when I believe it. In recorded history, from as far back as the master teacher Jesus, all the way to this current research that we have, not just in her book, in lots of other books, belief has been found to be the key to what it is that shows up in our life. Jesus was said to have said, "It is done unto you as you believe." And in this book, she talks about research that's been done with studies to look at people who are more optimistic and compare their lives to people who are more pessimistic. And in these studies, they've come to this conclusion. First of all, she said, it turns out that the difference between optimists and pessimists lies in how permanent, pervasive, and personal they perceive the good and bad events that show up in their lives. She has a lot of different research studies that she shares statistics from, and she concludes that people with a positive outlook are 45% less likely to die within a specified period of time from all causes than a negative thinker. So just that was enough to make me think, wow, belief, how we believe the world behaves is so important. And the good news that she shared statistically, scientifically proven, as well as what we know, is that optimism can be learned. These tools that I've been mentioning help us to shift from a pessimistic view of the world to a more optimistic one. When we are being open to and seeing in our mind's eye positive outcomes, we can shift our belief about what goes on in our life and see the results in real life and in what's manifested. As we believe, we then see things show up. Again, as we consider being open to possibilities, do you believe that there are more possibilities out there? What do you believe about yourself and how life shows up for you? How does life treat you, and what do you believe about that? And what do you believe about who you are and your worth and value in this bigger picture that we call life or the universe? I believe that most of us, if not all of us, have seen the movie The Wizard of Oz, if not once, then every year as it came through on the TV programs. And to me, that story is a great example of how belief works alongside possibilities. We know that the four of them wanted a home, a heart, brains, and courage. And they believed that by getting to Oz, that Oz would be able to give them these things that they felt they were lacking. And yet, what they found out is that Oz was really holding up an empty red can. Because the truth was, they had their good within them all along. They just couldn't see it because they didn't believe it. They had to go on a long, difficult journey in order to see within and begin to believe in their good so they could see it manifested outwardly in their world. It took a treacherous journey to open them up to different possibilities in their lives. And what's exciting to me is that we can use these tools. We can take that journey in our mind. We can let our mind do the walking. We can shift to greater optimism by shifting and changing our beliefs about how life is showing up for us. We can ask all those questions and again, allow those changes to take place in our mind. We can look through the eyes of another. We can explore and contemplate, meditate, envision, all in our minds. And by doing that, we keep ourselves open to more and greater and new possibilities. And this leads to that one last tool that I've talked about a little bit, and that actually is woven throughout the use of all of these tools. And that is what we call a science of mind treatment or affirmative prayer. In steps 1 and 2 of an affirmative prayer, we're contemplating what God is, the big picture. And the second step, we're contemplating who we are within that big picture as an expression of God. Treatment can be done to open us to the divine guidance. It can open us to what questions we need to be asking. Treatment supports each step of this process as we look through the eyes of others, as we change our beliefs that no longer serve us. Treatment supports what shows up in our visions, and it shifts our beliefs around what is possible. Even when, and maybe most especially when, what we are seeing looks different than what we've expected. All of these tools support us along this journey so that we can stay open to possibilities. So believe it. Believe in your good. Believe all truly is in divine order, even when it looks so different. Believe in the fact that possibilities are infinite, no matter what shows up. Believe in the benefits of staying open to possibilities. Believe it so you can see it. And so it is. Let's move into prayer. And so as we breathe in that truth of knowing that we are one with that great mind, with spirit, with love, with life, as we breathe that in and accept it as our truth, as we believe that we are a valuable expression of that one, we also open and believe that our good is flowing in and through us and is already around us. And so as we shift in our awareness to a more optimistic outlook on how life treats us, expresses through us, we open ourselves to new and different possibilities. We open our eyes and allow ourselves to see our good from a new perspective. We open to all the good that's already in our lives. And as we experience this good, we move into gratitude. We give thanks for all that shows up, all that is. We give thanks for this teaching and these tools. And so I just know that each and every one of us is touched by the ability and the choice, the decision and the belief to make use of this good. And so I just release these words into that great law that supports us on this path as we say together, and so it is.
Farther the lands you have ever imagined, deeper than even the oceans of blue. An open horizon is waiting like morning, waking the dreamer who's living in you. So now go with the wind at your back and the sun on your face, with a song in your heart and the promise of grace. Go in peace and in truth and let love lead your way. Go with God. Go with God. Stronger than will in the soul of a fighter, higher than hope in the heart of a child. There is a longing, a yearning inside us. It's reaching for heaven and won't be denied. If you'll go with the wind at your back and the sun on your face, with a song in your heart and the
I just want to thank you for joining us, and I also want to thank our musicians. They do their music at a different time than we videotape, so I forget sometimes that the overall picture includes such amazing music that they bring to us each week. So I want to thank them for continuing to provide us with music that inspires us and supports the messages that we give. So stay well, stay happy, and continue to believe it so you can see it. So it is. I love you all.